Imagine a sound that could travel thousands of miles across the ocean because it is so deep and deafening. A sound captured in the Pacific's darkest, deepest depths. There was no known animal that made that sound. It was against all science. It was named the Bloop by scientists, the loudest, scariest underwater sound ever recorded. For many years, the only explanation was that something enormous, something hideous, was slipping through the abyss. The sound that set off 1,000 nightmares has this truth behind it. The narrative started in 1997. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration of the United States was listening in a far-flung corner of the South Pacific. Using a covert system of underwater microphones called hydrophones, they were keeping an eye on volcanic activity rather than hunting monsters. Strategically placed, these sensitive devices serve as the deep's ears. Then, several times, a single event was recorded by sensors that were more than 5,000 kilometers apart. That's how far it is from New York to London. The ultra-low frequency sound lasted for approximately a minute, and it was incredibly loud. The team promptly ruled out any man-made noises or seismic activity. Why? Due to the acoustic signature of the bloop was distinctive, a changing, modulating profile that resembled a living thing's vocalizations. However, no known animal was big enough or loud enough to produce this worldwide roar. The sound's geographic center indicated a huge, uncharted and eerily empty area of the ocean located at 50 degrees south and 100 degrees west. It was evident from the data that the bloop was biological. This one insight set off a chain reaction of theories. What was it if it wasn't a blue whale, which is the loudest animal on the planet? Any known species would have to be dwarfed by the culprit. It would require internal mechanisms or lungs that are far more powerful than those of a modern whale. The most dramatic explanations were rapidly adopted by the public and media. An actual megalodon or a piece of a water-dwelling dinosaur? The most enduring and possibly most entertaining myth linked the bloop to Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft. Consider it. R'lyeh, the location of the alien, cosmic horror that slept far beneath the Pacific, was eerily near the bloop's coordinates in the original fiction. NOAA's scientists had to distinguish between myth and reality, but the latter was still elusive. The secret of the deep ocean remained hidden. The bloop continued to be the best proof for years that something genuinely enormous was concealed in the deep. We need to comprehend how the sound got here in order to appreciate the solution. The ocean has layers and is more than just water. Additionally, there is a layer called the SOFAR channel that is located between 600 and 1,200 meters below the surface. Sound waves can travel thousands of miles with little energy loss thanks to this channel, which functions as an acoustic superhighway. This highway was used by the bloop. However, it began its journey with a tremendous surge of energy rather than a monster. Let's return to the name now. Stories of Cthulhu and Leviathans were sparked by this terrifying, earth-shaking sound. It's just the bloop. I was also confused. Simply bloop. However, you'll see how easily breathtaking natural power can be misinterpreted once you understand the amazing truth behind the name. The raw, explosive power of our planet was the terrifying mystery, not a living thing. It wasn't until 2005 that the real breakthrough occurred. Now concentrating their efforts close to Antarctica, NOAA researchers started monitoring sounds coming directly from the ice shelves. and they started recording weird noises that were really loud. They contrasted these new recordings' spectral data with the notorious 1997 bloop. It was a beautiful match. Everything lined up perfectly: the duration, the extremely low frequency, and the enormous amplitude. The bloop wasn't a monster. An earthquake occurred. The enormous sound produced when a massive glacier or iceberg splits and separates from an ice shelf, a process known as calving, is known as an earthquake or cryocism. A louder acoustic event than any whale is produced by the friction, fracturing, and collapse of these miles-wide chunks of ice. A significant ice calving event releases enormous amounts of energy. It is acoustic evidence of the enormous, stunning, and terrifying mechanical forces operating in the world's coldest regions. Simply put, the bloop was nature's way of displaying its power from the great southern ice shelf. Even though the bloop is no longer a monster, its tale may be deeper. It demonstrates how sounds that are beyond our wildest fantasies can be produced by our planet's natural processes, such as the glacier's gradual death. It was not the sound of breathing, but the movement of the Earth. So are you amazed by the actual strength of the Antarctic ice, or disappointed that it wasn't Cthulhu? Tell me in the comments section below.